time for postseason baseball. I'm Tom Verducci with Sports Illustrated's Experts Corner. Are there any wild card teams that have a chance to win the World Series? You know, we're so used to wild card teams going all the way, we take it for granted that they can do it. Keep in mind, it's a little harder this year. The wild card teams have to play that one-game knockout game, that play-in game, so to speak. So they have to use a good pitcher just to get to the division series. So I think there's another hurdle in the way of these wild card teams. Now that being said, I think there's one team out there, the 4 wild card teams, potential wild card teams that can go all the way, and that's the Atlanta Braves. And that's because I think their rotation is deep enough where it doesn't really matter 1 through 4. They can match up your best against their guy and still have at least a wash. Give this team a lot of credit the way they came back from that collapse of last year. I think it's hard, but I think the Braves has the best shot of going all the way out of the wild card spot. With Washington shutting down Strasburg, what are the chances they make a deep run into the playoffs? Listen, the Washington Nationals, without Stephen Strasburg, they're still a really good team. Now, obviously, chances are better with him, but keep this in mind, when they shut him down, he wasn't the same pitcher he was in the first half of the season, so it's not as if they're shutting down their version of Justin Verlander. I think the thing to watch with the Nationals, a couple of things. Number one, Jordan Zimmerman. He's the key for me. He had a stretch there late in the season where he wasn't quite on point. Let's see if he bounces back in October. They need him to dominate. The other thing, this team strikes out a ton. I like the offense. They can score in a lot of ways. Postseason baseball, keep an eye on how often they strike out. But this team, they're good enough to win it all. Who would you vote for the Cy Young Award? Oh, it's a tough year to be picking Cy Young Awards in both leagues. But I'll tell you what, American League, you can't go wrong with Justin Verlander. The big difference for me, even though he doesn't have as many wins as last year, look at his innings pitched. This guy is a workhorse. Takes the ball into the 8th, 9th innings almost every time out there. And I think that's the separator between Verlander and guys like David Price, who's right up there as well. Nationally, I've got to go with R.A. Dickey for the same reason. The guy takes the ball consistently deep in the games. The win total is up there. The ERA is terrific. I know people like Craig Kimbrell. That's a relief pitcher only throwing about 60 innings. So for me, there's no comparison. You talk about an ace like Dickey who's throwing 220, 230 innings to a closer only pitching 60. I think he gets the benefit of the doubt there. So Verlander and Dickey, those are my Cy Young Award winners. What's the chance the Yankees will win the World Series this year? Every year, the Yankees have a chance to win the World Series. It's no different this year. Couple of things, though, I think are really making it hard for them. Number one, CC Sabathia. How strong is he? How healthy is he with that elbow? If he's on point, if he's going to pitch like an ace, yeah, they can win it all. If not, I'm not sure that they can. The other thing to keep in mind, and you saw this last year when they played Detroit in the division series, this is not a very good team in situational hitting. They can club you to death with the home run. That's their path to winning games. If they don't get the home run, they need hits with a runner on second base, move a guy over. They are not very good at that. And last year against the Tigers in the division series, they were not getting runners in from scoring position. They're the same kind of team. I don't think that's going to improve. So they need Sabathia. They need to hit a lot of home runs. If they can do that, they can win the World Series. Do you think Charlie Manuel has done a good job this year as Phillies manager? Look at Charlie Manuel and the job he's done for the Phillies, and you think maybe you shouldn't bring him back. But keep this in mind. The Philadelphia Phillies, ton of injuries early, and they played hard late down the stretch. And that's the way I'm going to judge Charlie Manuel, a guy who's brought them to the finish line every year. And this year, even though it doesn't look like postseason play, he kept this team playing very hard in the second half of the season. Remember, he got Jimmy Rollins' grill when Rollins wasn't hustling. Rollins responded, the team responded. He kept this team playing hard down the stretch. Listen, sometimes the voice, it gets stale with a lot of teams with their managers. Don't think that's the case right now with Charlie Manuel. So if I'm the Phillies, I bring him back, and he deserves more than just one down year before losing a job. Will the St. Louis Cardinals make the playoffs? You know, it looked like the Cardinals were a lock for the playoffs. They stumbled, but I still like this team. And I like them because Chris Carpenter is back in their rotation. Now listen, he's not going to be the Cy Young Award winner he was in the past, not being after being out for 9, 10, 11 months. but I think just having him back in the rotation, and this stuff is good enough to be effective, but I think having him back in the rotation makes this team feel complete. They really feed off of his energy and his competitiveness. They'll need him to get through rounds in the postseason, but down the stretch, this is a team, don't forget, that came from nowhere last September. 10.5 games out starting the month to get into the postseason. I think they've been able to draw on that. It's an older team. I think that serves them well in September. So I like the Cardinals to get into the postseason. Not sure how far they can go, but I think they certainly look like a playoff team. Who is your pick to win the World Series? Well, my preseason pick to win the World Series was the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Not feeling too good about that pick right now. I'm going to change my mind here and go with the San Francisco Giants. Now listen, they lost Melky Cabrera, who's a big part of their offense in the first half of the season, so people think they're short offensively. I don't think so. I think this is a very good rally team. Buster Posey has really stepped up to be that impact kind of hitter. You've got to avoid him if you're trying to beat the Giants. Pitch around him. He's a must. But on the other hand, pitching staff, it's still solid. I like the way Tim Lincecum came around late in the season. Madison Bumgarner is overrated. And Matt Cain, he's as good as anybody in baseball. So for me, I think the Giants have depth pitching, depth offensively, and I think that carries them through 3 rounds.